Hello everyone, happy Saturday. Time once again for our Saturday Anything Goes. Kind of had to scratch my head a little bit about what I wanted to show you today, but then I realized I need not only a thank you card, but a little thank you gift as well. Some time ago, around Christmas I think, I used the Windows Thinlets dies to create this cute little penguin chocolate holder, and it made such a cute gift that I thought it'd be great to give it a go for the thank you gift that I need to make. So we're going to be using the Windows Thinlets dies, and I'll bring them out right here. And one thing I wanted to go over with you is there are quite a few dies in this set. This is the one that you use to actually make your box, and you need two of them, so we're going to use that. And then also this pretty decorative die is what I use to cut out the top of the box, as you can see right here. And if I open this box up, you'll see that it very nicely holds chocolates or any small thing you want to put in there, but I'm actually going to put in potpourri. And this is actually one of the flowers that came with my potpourri. So we'll throw that one in there as well. I'll put that to one side and move this out of the way. And before we get started, I wanted to talk a little bit about the dies themselves. So this actually measures 6 inches this way and 6 inches this way. And you would think that you could only get one of these cut out of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock. But with a little bit of thinking, you can actually get two. And I made a template. Hope you can see it on here. Let me turn it this way. But all I did was I figured since the longest part really only took up the center of the die, that I could put two of them in here. And what I did was I laid this down and I just sketched in pencil around that one, and then I flipped it over and sketched in pencil around that one. And once I'd done that, of course your 8.5 by 11 is not going to fit through your Big Shot, but I took some scissors and I just cut very carefully between the two to split them into pieces that were 6 inches, and that will fit in your Big Shot. So you can get one box out of one 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock. A really nice supply saver. And to save time, I did go ahead and I cut out both pieces. Now, why do we need both pieces? Well, one's the top and one's the bottom. And the first time I went to put this thing together, I tell you, I was flummoxed. Luckily, there was a great YouTube video out there, and I wish I could remember who did it, but this has been probably about a year ago. If I can find it, I'll link it in the description. But she really showed that if you just take a little bit of time and think about it and dry fit your pieces, it really does go together quickly. And so this is going to be our bottom, and this is going to be our top. We are going to have to join these together so that there'll be one continuous piece. And one of the things, if I pull this up here, hopefully you can see, the die will put score marks into the cardstock for you. I run it through my Big Shot a couple of times. I wanted to try and get those score marks as deep as I could. But even doing that, it did not crease all the way to the backside. And if I pull this up, you can see the creases show, or the score marks show on the backside. Well, that's because I took it to my scoring board and just lined up the lines that the Big Shot did put in there, and very, very carefully I went ahead and scored those areas. That's just going to make it easier for me to fold. You certainly don't have to do that. If you're careful, you can go ahead and fold it easily. However, if you're using, let's say you want to put something a little heavy in the box and you're using our heavyweight Whisper White or very thick Whisper White or very vanilla, I would highly recommend after you run it through the Big Shot to try and reinforce those score lines. Now, because we're going to make this one continuous piece, you'll notice it has these flaps, one at this end and one at this end on both pieces. Well, we really only need one. The first time I put this together, I just joined the flaps like that, and it didn't line up. I had a very wonky box. So one of the things I learned from the video is you will need to cut off one of the flaps on this end and then one of the flaps either that end or that end. So that's the first thing I'm going to do is bring out my snips, and I will take and just cut right along that score line. Just like that. Now that's going to make it easy for this to line up and join without giving me that extra 1/8 of an inch that makes my box go wonky. So that's going to work that way, but I have to do it for these ends as well. So since I cut the flap off this end, I think I'll cut the flap off the opposite end here. And that's all the cutting you have to do. Now let's talk about joining these up. I want to go ahead and fold and burnish my score lines before I try to put my box together. It's just so much easier that way. So I'll go ahead and follow my score lines and give it a fold, and then get out your bone folder and burnish that down. And you'll want to do that for all of these flaps at the side, at the bottom, and then on the actual lid and the bottom as well. Try and make sure that they stay within that score line, because that's important when you're joining it up. Now these ones at the top, your Big Shot will cut it all the way through. So I just use my fingernails along that crease line to gently coax it over. And I haven't had any problems with getting it right on that score line. And it's really important to make sure you're getting a snug fit when you close your box. If you're going to seal both the top and bottom, it's a lot more forgiving. But I'm only sealing the bottom of this one because it's going to be a potpourri holder. I want it to be able to be refilled. And we have to be able to open the top to do that. So I do want to make sure that my flaps here are nice and straight and that they're burnished well. Okay, that's all the folding. Oop, I've got one more. And when I have to fold the top like this, I straighten out my flaps to make sure that I can lay it absolutely flat before I burnish it. All right, so that's our top. Now we're going to repeat the same process with the bottom. This one tends to go a little bit faster for me. Don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm just used to doing it. So fold that over and just keep on burnishing. And now I'll do these, remembering to lift that up just a little bit so that I can make sure and get my fingers in there and get that to fold flush with where they meet. Tell you what, going in and reinforcing those score lines makes this very, very easy. Okay, so that is all of the folding and burnishing that we need to do. Now we get to go ahead and put our box together. When you're doing this, you need a strong adhesive, especially if you're going to put something in the box. So I would not recommend using snail for this at all. My recommendations would be to use your multi-purpose liquid glue or some very strong tape. And I'm going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue because I want to make sure I have a little bit of wiggle room so that I can line everything up very flush. Remembering we've got our bottom, which goes the opposite way of our top, and we're going to be joining this to this. So I'm going to put some glue on my flap. And you don't have to put a ton, but just make sure you get some good coverage. And then I'm going to turn it over so I can see what I'm doing. So remembering, it's got to go like this, bottom and top. And then I want to be sure that I line up my edges. That's what's going to make sure that I get a good fit. So I'm butting it right up, and you can actually fold this over if that helps you, and make sure you get it lined up flush. And then just hold it together for a couple of seconds to make sure you have a bond. And then I even take my bone folder and burnish it down. Now we have one continuous piece to work with. I've seen people put it together where they start gluing flaps and things down, but I like to go ahead and close up this piece before I start gluing flaps to the top and the bottom. And I actually should have gone ahead and folded these sections, which I didn't do, but I'll just do it right now, making sure that I'm following those score lines. And by doing that, I'll be able to fold it over. Make sure you get your folds straight there. Let me just burnish those down real quick. I like having nice, crisp edges. And I'd already done that one. So I'll do this one here and this one. Okay. I'm going to take and put a little bit of glue on this flap, and we'll be ready to join the two ends together. I'm going to fold my flap down just a bit so that I can make sure that I am seeing exactly where this goes. And then I'm going to line it up, making sure it's flush. That's why I like my liquid glue. It gives me that extra little bit of wiggle. Because if this is one of those where if your edges are not lined up perfectly, your box will sit a little wonky. Okay, so there's the basic shape of our box. Bring it down where you can see it. I like to put my bottom together before the top. So I'm going to lay it this way, and as you can see, it's really wobbly. So we need to start gluing some flaps down to give it that strength and structure that we need. And then when we decorate it with our designer series paper, that is also going to help give it strength. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to glue these flaps here, and then I also have these flaps here. But I'm not going to glue them all at the same time because I need to be able to get in there and turn them down so that they sit flush. And I'll show you what I mean. Want to make sure that these flaps, and right now, like I said, it's a bit wonky, so you're just going to have to work with it. But this is how it's going to look. And I do want to glue the flaps, all of the flaps, but I'm just going to start with my back ones first. For me, that works best. After you've made this a couple of times, you may find that you put yours together a little bit different, but I like to start with these back flaps. And I'm getting it all over the flap, but I'm not glopping it on there. So I'm not going to have a whole bunch that squeezes out. Then we'll simply take, and I'm going to put these pieces together, and you'll see why in a minute, because now I can come in here and I can press the flaps that have the glue straight down, and I'll show you what I'm doing right there. So because I closed up my bottom and I still have a little bit of wiggle room to make any adjustments that need to be made before that glue is completely set. When I'm happy with it, I'm going to smush it, smush those edges down. Oops, that's not one I glued. That's one I glued right there. So just smush them down to make sure that they're holding. Okay, so that took care of the bottom two. Now I have these two here. I have enough play in where I can lift the top and I can get a good bead of glue in there. I'll do that for both sides. And I just put my thumb between this last piece and the bottom. That's what lifted it up enough for me to be able to get the glue on. And now I can come in here and it should all fit nice and neat. Go inside and press down those back flaps. All right. Now, if you wanted to glue that last flap, you certainly could have put the glue on at that time. I really didn't find it necessary. With the 4 flaps I already have stuck down, it's holding very well. But you certainly could have put, and I still can. If I wanted to put a little bit of glue on that flap there, I could just lift that up. If I hadn't already glued it down, I could just lift this up with my thumbnail and run a little bead down there and then press it closed. So we have our bottom together, and now our box has a lot more stability. I don't glue any of my top flaps down. If I put my box together correctly, I should just be able to tuck those flaps in and have it be secured. And sure enough, there's our box. Went together pretty quickly, and it's flush on all edges, so I don't have any bad things sticking up or any corners that aren't meeting together. And that works really well. Before we fill it, though, we're going to decorate it. I didn't decorate the last one just because I put it together simply to show you what it looked like. But this we definitely are going to decorate. After all, can't send a naked box to someone. By the way, the cardstock that I used was Mint Macron, which is a returning color. Love, love, love this. So pretty. And I'm using one of the sheets of the Share What You Love Designer Series paper. This just is gorgeous. There's just no other way to put it. This card pack or Designer Series pack is huge. It has 24 sheets. Most of them are foiled, and they're double-sided, and the back sides coordinate absolutely perfectly, not only with the front sides, but with everything else in the pack. And it is thick. I mean, listen to that. Thick, thick, thick. So what I've done is I cut out, let me just dump my goodie bag. I went ahead and cut out the panels that we need. You'll need 6 of them. Move all this other stuff to the side. And I've cut out a bunch of stuff for embellishments. I'm not quite sure what we're going to use, so maybe you guys can help me decide that. Hi, Amy. Hi, Eileen. Or Aileen. Sorry, I always get your name wrong. It's Aileen, right? Thanks so much for joining. All right. These are cut at 1 3/4 square. And I really wrestled with, do I want to do all of the panels the same? Just make, that's my front. Do I want to do all of my panels the same? So as you can see, it fits perfectly. I did not mat these because that pretty cardstock is matte enough for it. So I can put all of them the same, or I could alternate them. And that's a pretty look as well. It was just hard for me to decide, but I'm feeling very floral today. So I think I'm going to do it all with the flower side up. The next thing is, now that I found my front, I'm going to go through here and just kind of, I want the front, we're going to cover up a little bit with the sentiment panel, but my sides are going to be the next thing that's very, very visible. I think I'm going to take these two because they have that pretty flower on them and use those on the sides. Let me go ahead and get out my multi-purpose liquid glue and let's just start laying these down. So I've got, oops, I always miss a little bit on the edge there. Make sure you've got your pattern going up. And I'm going to check again where my front is. Right there. So this is my first side. So just lay that down. Slide it up into position. Being careful not to squish your box. Okay, so that's one. And then I'm going to do the same thing on that side. Now, if you want to mix up the patterns, I certainly could go with more pink rather than just blue. But I kind of like the symmetry of having those two blue flowers. All right, so that's two of our panels down. And then I think I'll put that one in the middle. Decorating, it's always the fun part, don't you think? And I just know I'm going to have good use for these little thank you gifts. All right, give that a light press. Make sure that it's sticking down. And you just continue that all the way around. If you don't want to use multi-purpose liquid glue, you certainly can use fast fuse, you can use tear and tape, whatever you like. You could even use snail for this. Almost done with the panels. And if you're using a directional paper like I am, you do want to be careful that your flowers are going the right way or your stripes are going the right way, whatever your design is. I can't tell you how many times I've put something together only to find out part of it is upside down. Did I throw it out? Absolutely not. It's part of being a handmade card, right? Okay. I always do decorate the back because you just never know where this is going to be sitting. So there, pretty already. Now we have one more decision to make. I absolutely love the new velvet ribbon, and the color goes so well with this that I was thinking about, yep, there's my front. I was thinking about wrapping it with some of this. And I think I do like the way that looks. Now, the easiest way to do this, I've found, is to either use glue dots or to use your tear and tape. And for this, which one do I want to use? What do I have out in front of me? I had some tear and tape. There's some 1/4 inch tape somewhere. There it is. I think I'm just going to use a strip of this. Now, the one thing you do want to be careful with when you're laying this down, this is not that forgiving. So once it's down, it's down. And let me show you a little trick for making sure that you get everything stuck down nice and straight. Come on. When I'm doing this, I don't take the backing off of the entire strip at once. I just peel the backing for as much as I need at the moment. So I'm only going to take about that much off for right now. Now where's my front again? It is right there. And I don't have to come all the way around to the front, because remember, we're going to have a sentiment that sits there. So I'll go ahead, and this way, because I'm only peeling it as I need it, I don't have to worry about it sticking someplace that I don't want it to go. Now we're coming around to the front, and hopefully I'm roughly halfway, because I do want it to at least look like my ends are going to match up. Not bad. And since I do have a little extra, I'll just go ahead and put it almost to the edge there. Hate to waste good ribbon. Oh, I like the way that looks very much. Okay. Now for my sentiment, I cut out a 1.5 inch circle, and then I use the smallest of the stitched shape circles, and this is going to be what we stamp our sentiment on. For our sentiment, I'm using the thank you from the Detailed with Love clear mount stamp set. This is one of the ones that will be in the new catalog. And I just love that sentiment. And since I need a thank you gift, hey, it was perfect. As far as ink, yes, I know this DSP has Grapefruit Grove, I think. It has Mint Macron, a little bit of Tranquil Tide, and I believe that is Rich Razzeberry. But I got our new in color inks, and I'm just dying to use them. So I thought the Lovely lipstick would go well enough that I could use that. Plus, it's a bit darker of a color than some of the other ones that are in the DSP, and I want you to be able to see that thank you stand out. This is our new ink pad style. If you've not used it before, if you look at the front, there is an indentation right there. Instead of pushing like we're used to, all you do is put your thumb under it and flip it open, just like that. And then from the back, just slide it. You'll notice that I have a strip of that color in here. That's another feature of our new ink pads. Stampin' Up! Gave us an extra one of those little plastic strips that are on the back so that we could go ahead and label the inside, making it easy if you have multiple ink pads open. I've got my stamp already mounted. Make sure I have it right side up and bring this forward. Pardon my head if it gets in the way. And I'm going to stamp it down in the center. There we go. Give that a little scrub with my Stampin' Scrub. And put this aside for a moment to dry while I close up my ink pad. To close up your ink pad, put your thumb where the well is and just give it a good pull, or you could, once you get it started, push from there, but I find pulling it is fine. Flip it over and then just press it closed. Love it. I think they're very, very easy to use. Mine was just a little bit stiff when I first started using it, but after just a couple of times, I didn't have any problems either flipping it open or sliding it open and shut. Now, I have heard if you have a problem with it sliding, if it was really stiff, you can take a birthday candle and just wax up lightly these edges. And I've heard that that really helps with sliding it back and forth. All right, this should be dry, so hopefully I won't smudge it. I'm going to mount it, again, using my multi-purpose liquid glue. Give it a good press. And we're going to put this on the front using a couple of dimensionals. I wanted it to stand out just a little bit, especially since I've got that velvet ribbon there. And because I have the velvet ribbon, I'm going to put my dimensionals at the top and bottom as close to the edge as I can get without you being able to see it, so that we don't get a bump from that ribbon being there. Peel off my backings. And now we're ready to line this up and press it down. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Now you could leave it like this if you wanted to. You know me, I always got to pretty it up a little bit more. So I have a couple of different things that we could use. First of all, this is one of our new faceted buttons. So cute. And some of our Nature's twine in the mint Macron. And all I did was thread the twine through the button and tie a little bow. So let's see, we could put that right there, and that would be cute. Or I have another new baker's twine, which is the mint Macron in silver. That would be really pretty right there. And lastly, I love this ribbon, so I tied a bow using it. And we could certainly put that there. But you know, I think that's just a little too heavy for the front. So I'm going to put that aside. Now, I think I'm going to go ahead with the silver and mint Macron baker's twine. I really like that. Easiest way to put it down, I found, is with a glue dot. So let me pull out my glue dots here. But before I do that, I did one other thing. I cut, or punched, I should say, some vellum leaves, and I colored the backside with the light old olive. And I thought I would see what that would look like. If I put one there, come on, can't pick it up with my little nail here, and maybe one there. And I want to make sure I get, if I do use it, that leaf has to be up high enough to where it's not going to be below the bottom of the box. So we could do that, and then we could put that on there. Interesting. Or let's see if maybe this looks better now with those leaves. Nope. And that's still too strong. So I think I'm going to go ahead. I like the leaves. I'm going to use those, and I'm also going to use the silver and mint Macron baker's twine bow. Okay, I'm going to attach the leaves the same way as I do the bow with some glue dots. So let me pull out my handy dandy little pokey tool here in case I need it. But these, I should be able to just lay this on there, pop it off, and then put it right where I want it. Get in there with my pokey tool to press it down. I'll do the same with this side. I'm just taking and pressing where the stem meets the leaves, and then I'll slide it in there. Because I've used a dimensional, that makes it oh so simple to slide it back there and make sure that it's attached down by pressing it down. I do like that. Separate my bow loops just a little bit. Make them a little fluffier. One more glue dot. Decide where we want it. And I think right there is just lovely. Let's go ahead and trim down our tails. Oops. Like that. Very pretty. If you weren't filling this with something, you could certainly do something with the top. You could put maybe some more leaves and a die-cut flower up there if you wanted to decorate even more. But since I'm going to be filling this with potpourri, I didn't want to block the vent holes. I want to make sure that that lovely smell can get out of there. And the potpourri I'm using, I found this, I want to say, might have been in TJ Maxx or Ross, someplace like that. It wasn't like at Walmart or Bed Bath & Beyond. I wanted something that was a little bit different. And this has a lovely, very light floral fragrance. And believe it or not, it had these flowers in it, as well as these interesting looking seed pods. And that's what I'm going to use. So I'll open this up, pour these in there. Oh, I wish you could smell that. It's just beautiful. And then lay this down. And you want to make sure that it's not sticking up, because that could interfere with your box closing. So move these around if you need to. And now I can close it up. And it's ready for me to give someone as a thank you gift. I hope that you enjoyed watching me make this. Are there any questions out there? Hi, Lori. Thanks for joining. Well, this box just really comes in handy, and it's good for all 4 seasons of the year. As I mentioned, I made a penguin box out of mine just by cutting some eyes with the circle punches and a beak I cut by hand, and some little feet that I put on there, and then I put a handle on it, and it held little Christmas goodies. But you could just as easily make something for spring or fall or summer just by varying up the DSP that you use. Okay, well, if there are no questions, I'll go ahead and close this out. If you need any supplies at all, and keep in mind that our pre-order starts May 2nd for customers. And I believe the Share What You Love Designer Series paper is going to be a part of that. So if I can help you with purchasing any of the supplies, new supplies that will be available, please visit my blog, cardsbywinnie.wordpress.com, and you can click on the Shop Now button. It will take you directly to my online store where you can make your purchases, or leave me a comment and I will be happy to get in touch with you and assist you in any way I can. So that's it for today. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye now.